Hey guys, tonight we slip into the flickering gaslight of Victorian England, where sleepless nights haunt you like a ghostly fog over London's cobblestones. Picture yourself in a creaky four-poster bed, the air thick with coal dust, your eyelids heavy but refusing to stay shut. Insomnia's grip is relentless, and honestly, you probably won't survive a week of this restless tossing. The Victorians, bless their overstarched hearts, fought the same battle, chasing sleep with odd potions, rituals, and sheer stubbornness. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're in 1860s London, and sleep is a luxury nobody talks about. The Industrial Revolution's roar, clanging factories, overcrowded tenements, keeps half the city awake. Historians note that diaries from the era, like those of novelist Elizabeth Gaskell, describe nights spent pacing, unable to quiet the mind. The mainstream fact: urbanization wrecked natural sleep cycles. Gas lamps and 24-hour work shifts blurred day into night. But here's the quirky bit. Some Victorians blamed overactive brains from reading too many novels, claiming Dickens's twisty plots kept them up. Imagine that. Boz himself as an insomnia villain. Historians still argue whether city noise or cultural stress was the bigger culprit, but you feel it all. The distant whistle of a steam engine, the neighbors coughing through thin walls. Your bedroom is no sanctuary. The mattress, stuffed with horsehair, pokes like a bad acupuncture session. Coal fires leave a sooty haze, and the windows stuck shut, trapping stale air. You're not alone in this misery. Insomnia was so common that newspapers ran columns on sleeplessness cures, from dodgy tonics to earnest advice like, think of nothing. Ha! Good luck with that when your landlord's knocking at dawn. The middle class especially obsessed over sleep as a status symbol. A good night's rest meant you weren't slaving in a factory. You try counting the cracks in the ceiling, but your mind races. Bills, chores, that weird rash from last week's mutton stew. The Victorians didn't have ASMR or white noise machines, but they were desperate for solutions. You hear whispers of laudanum, a poppy-tinted dream in a bottle, but its risks loom large. Herbal teas, warm milk, even reciting poetry. Nothing's off the table. Some swore by sleeping in flannel, as if scratchy pajamas were a magic spell. You chuckle, imagining a posh gent swaddled like a grumpy burrito, but the struggle's real. Your own eyelids twitch, fighting the same battle. The city's pulse doesn't stop, and neither does your brain. What was that noise? Just a cat on the roof? Or maybe your neighbor brewing midnight tea? You're in this for the long haul, and the Victorians have plenty of tricks to share. You're still in that creaky Victorian bedroom, the air heavy with the scent of wax candles and damp wool. The gaslight outside your window flickers, casting shadows that dance like restless spirits across the peeling wallpaper. Your eyes ache, but sleep's as distant as a sunny day in London's smog. You shift on the lumpy mattress, the horsehair stuffing, crunching like autumn leaves. This is your world now, a sleepless night in 1860s England, where the bedchamber's dim glow promises rest but delivers only frustration. Let's poke around this room, because the Victorians turned their sleeping spaces into bizarre shrines to the god of slumber. The mainstream fact: Victorian bedrooms were designed for darkness and warmth, seen as essential for health. Medical journals, like those from the Lancet in the 1850s, preached that a well-ventilated but cozy room prevented everything from colds to nervous agitation. Your bed dominates the space, a hulking oak frame draped with heavy curtains to block drafts. The windows are shuttered tight. Fresh air's a gamble when cholera rumors swirl. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some swore by hanging a wet sheet near the bed to moisten the air, claiming it soothed the lungs. You imagine the soggy fabric flapping like a sad ghost, hardly a lullaby. Historians still argue whether these setups helped or just bred mold, but you're stuck with it. You tug the curtains around your bed, creating a stuffy cocoon. The air's so still, it feels like breathing soup. A brass bed warmer, filled with hot coals, sits cooling by the hearth. Your maid, if you're lucky enough to have one, slid it under the sheets earlier, leaving a faint, smoky whiff. The room's cluttered with sleep aids, a chipped porcelain basin for washing, a tin of lavender salve, and a dog-eared Bible for soothing verses. You smirk, picturing yourself reading Psalms in a posh accent to bore your brain into submission. No luck. The clock ticks louder than a blacksmith's hammer. Your nightstand holds a chipped mug, its handle sticky from last night's attempt at sleep tea. Chamomile, probably past its prime. The furniture's heavy, carved with roses that look more menacing in the half-light. You wonder if the carpenter was paid by the splinter. Victorians loved their rituals, and bedtime was a performance. You're supposed to prepare the mind by avoiding stimulating thoughts. Goodbye, that spicy novel about pirates. Some doctors suggested arranging pillows in a precise stack. Too high, and you'd strain your neck. Too low, and vapors might invade your skull. You fluff the bolster, muttering about vapors like they're uninvited guests. The floorboards groan as you pace, your bare feet catching on a frayed rug. Outside, a horse clops by, its driver cursing the fog. You're tempted to peek through the shutters, but that's a rookie move. Light's the enemy of sleep. You recall that soggy sheet trick and laugh, imagining explaining it to your mates back home. Yeah, just drape a wet towel and dream of damp laundry. The room's a paradox, built for rest, yet every creak and shadow keeps you wired. You're not giving up, though. The Victorians had more tricks, and you're about to try them all. You're back in that stuffy Victorian bedroom, the air thick with the faint tang of soot and lavender. The gaslight's glow seeps through the shutters, taunting your sleepless eyes. You slump against the oak headboard, its carved acorns digging into your back like a grumpy carpenter's revenge. Insomnia's got you in a chokehold, and you're desperate enough to try anything, even the Victorians' favorite liquid escape, laudanum. This opium-laced potion is the era's go-to sleep aid, as common as aspirin in a modern medicine cabinet. But as you eye the tiny glass bottle on your nightstand, its dark syrup glinting like forbidden honey, you sense the danger lurking beneath its promise. The mainstream fact, laudanum, a mix of opium and alcohol, was prescribed for everything from headaches to sleeplessness in the 1860s. Pharmacy records show it was sold over the counter, with doctors like Thomas Sydenham praising its soothing powers. You uncork the bottle, the sharp, bittersweet scent hitting you like a whiff of regret. A few drops on your tongue, and a warm haze creeps in, loosening your knotted thoughts. It's no wonder Victorians love this stuff. Sleep feels close, like a soft blanket just out of reach. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some users reported wild dreams of flying elephants or talking furniture, side effects that made laudanum a gamble. You chuckle, imagining a chatty armchair lecturing you on etiquette mid-nap. Historians still argue whether laudanum's popularity stemmed from medical trust or sheer desperation, but you get it. Sleepless nights make you reckless. You're cautious, though, too much, and you're not waking up. The bottle's label, handwritten in spidery ink, warns of excessive doses, but the fine print's blurry in the candlelight. You recall stories of poets like Samuel Coleridge, who leaned hard into laudanum and churned out feverish verses. Was it worth it? Your head's fuzzy, but the room's still spinning. Creaking floorboards, a distant dog barking, sleep's teasing you, and laudanum's not the instant fix you hoped for. You set the bottle down, your fingers sticky from a stray drop. The bed feels softer now, but your heart's racing, a side effect nobody warned you about. Victorians didn't mess around. They chased this high with a chaser of willpower, convinced discipline could tame the drug's chaos. You smirk, picturing a prim lady in a nightcap measuring drops like she's baking a cake. 2 teaspoons for dreams, 3 for disaster. The clock ticks on, each second a reminder that laudanum's a risky dance partner. You're not out yet, but the haze is tempting. Maybe you'll try something less dicey next, like those herbal teas you saw in the kitchen. For now, you sink back, the bottle winking in the shadows, daring you to try again. You're still sprawled in that creaky Victorian bedroom, the laudanum's warm fog, fading like a half-remembered dream. The bottle sits on your nightstand, its dark syrup no longer tempting, too risky for a second dance. Your eyelids droop, but sleep's playing hard to get, mocking you from the shadows of the heavy bed curtains. You're desperate, and the Victorians, with their endless bag of tricks, have more to offer. Tonight, you're diving into the bizarre world of doctor-prescribed insomnia cures, the kind that make you wonder if medical school was just a fever dream. From leeches to electric shocks, these remedies are as wild as they sound. The mainstream fact: Victorian doctors, armed with newfangled stethoscopes, treated insomnia as a nervous disorder, often prescribing physical interventions. Medical texts from the 1860s, like those by William Braid, pushed hydrotherapy, cold baths or wet wraps, to calm the nerves. You picture yourself dunked in a tin tub, shivering as a stern physician lectures you on vital energies. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some doctors swore by strapping patients to vibrating chairs, mechanical contraptions that jiggled you into supposed relaxation. You laugh, imagining a rickety chair rattling like a broken carriage, your teeth chattering while you beg for sleep. Historians still argue whether these treatments worked or just exhausted patients into submission. But you're game to try. You start with the least terrifying option, a soothing compress. Your imaginary maid, so useful in this drafty room, hands you a damp cloth soaked in vinegar and camphor. You slap it on your forehead, the sharp sting making your eyes water. It's supposed to draw out restless humors, but it just feels like punishment for staying up. Next, you eye a sketchy device on the dresser, a handheld galvanic battery for mild electric pulses. Doctors claimed it stimulated sleep centers, but you're not thrilled about zapping yourself. You crank the handle, and a faint buzz prickles your palm, less soothing, more like a bee with commitment issues. You drop it, muttering about quacks. The vibrating chair's not an option. Your landlord's too cheap for that. But you try the doctor's backup plan, pacing barefoot on a cold floor to ground your energies. The floorboards are icy, and you stub your toe on a loose nail, cursing in a very un-Victorian way. These cures are less about science and more about distractions, but you're still awake. The clocks tick, mocking your efforts. You recall that lavender salve from earlier, a saner choice than electroshock. Maybe the doctors were onto something with their calm the body, calm the mind mantra, but their methods feel like a circus act gone wrong. You sink back onto the bed, the compress now a soggy hat, wondering what's next in this sleepless saga. You're back in that dim Victorian bedroom. The vinegar-soaked compress, now a damp, smelly rag tossed aside. The galvanic battery's feeble buzz still lingers in your memory, but sleep remains a cruel tease, like a mirage in this stuffy, coal-dusted air. You're done with quack doctors and their torture devices for now. Instead, you turn to something simpler, homier, a classic Victorian bedtime ritual, a steaming mug of warm milk. It's the kind of remedy your imaginary maid might swear by, handed down from generations who believed a milky drink could coax even the most stubborn brain into dreamland. You're skeptical, but desperate enough to give it a whirl. The mainstream fact: warm milk was a staple in Victorian households, recommended in domestic manuals like Mrs. Beeton's 1861 Book of Household Management for its soothing properties. You cradle the mug, its porcelain warm against your palms, the faint sweetness of milk mingling with the room's smoky haze. The idea was that milk's natural compounds, some vague lactose magic, calm the nerves. You sip slowly, the liquid coating your throat like a soft apology for the night's frustrations. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians spiked their milk with nutmeg or a dash of brandy, turning it into a mildly boozy potion. You grin, picturing a prim governess sneaking a splash of liquor into her bedtime cup, winking at the moon. Historians still argue whether warm milk's benefits were real or just placebo, but you're not sold yet. The milk's pleasant enough, but your mind's still racing. Did you lock the door? Is that a rat scurrying in the walls? You try a variation from a faded recipe book on your nightstand. Milk warmed with a pinch of cinnamon. The spice swirls like a lazy comet, and the scent's comforting, like a hug from someone who smells faintly of biscuits. But comfort isn't sleep, and you're still staring at the ceiling's cracks, counting them like a shepherd who's lost his flock. You set the mug down, a milky ring staining the wood. The ritual feels right, cozy, almost nostalgic, but it's not the knockout punch you need. You recall that nutmeg trick and wonder if your maid's hiding a secret stash. Just a pinch, you mutter, half joking, imagining her smuggling brandy behind the coal scuttle. The clock ticks on, relentless, and the bed creaks as you shift. Maybe milk's too tame for a night this stubborn. You glance at the nightstand, where that lavender salve and the risky laudanum bottle still lurk. For now, you'll stick with the milk, but the Victorians have more up their sleeve, and you're ready to keep experimenting. You're slumped in that creaky Victorian bedroom, the empty milk mug cooling on your nightstand, its cinnamon dregs mocking your still wakeful eyes. The room's heavy curtains trap the coal soot air, and the bed's horsehair mattress pokes like a passive-aggressive hedgehog. Warm milk was a bust. Cozy, sure, but about as sleep-inducing as a lecture on tax law. You're ready for something with a bit more kick, and the Victorians, never shy about their vices, have just the thing, the nightcap. Not the hat, mind you, but a boozy bedtime drink they swore would send you straight to dreamland. Your game, even if your liver's raising an eyebrow. The mainstream fact: alcohol, especially port or brandy, was a popular sleep aid in Victorian England, endorsed by household guides like Cassell's 1869 Dictionary of Cookery for settling the nerves. You pour a small glass of sherry from a dusty decanter, its amber glow catching the candlelight like a tiny sunset. The first sip burns sweetly, warming your chest as you sink back against the pillows. Victorians loved their nightcaps, believing a tipple dulled the mind's chatter. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some mix their booze with opium syrup, creating a cocktail that could knock out a horse, or at least make you dream of one tap dancing. You chuckle, picturing a mustachioed gent toasting his laudanum-laced brandy, muttering to sleep, perchance to drool. Historians still argue whether nightcaps helped or just pickled sleepless brains, but you're feeling the sherry's glow. It's not sleep, exactly, but the room's edges soften, and the clock's tick seems less judgmental. You take another sip, savoring the raisiny bite, and wonder if you're cheating by enjoying this too much. The bed creaks as you adjust, the curtain swaying slightly. Did you leave a window cracked? The nightcap's warmth is tempting you to overdo it, but you remember the laudanum fiasco from earlier. One glass, maybe two, but you're not about to turn this into a pub crawl. You set the glass down, a faint ring joining the milk mug's stain. The sherry's done its job. Your limbs feel heavier, and the ceiling's cracks blur into abstract art. But your mind's still a restless tenant, replaying tomorrow's chores. You smirk, imagining explaining this to your mates. Yeah, I tried getting sloshed to sleep like it's 1860. The Victorians were onto something with their boozy rituals, but you're not out yet. The nightstand's still a treasure trove of tricks, herbs, salves, maybe something less likely to give you a hangover. For now, you lean back, the sherry's glow fading, ready to keep chasing that elusive nap. You're still in that stuffy Victorian bedroom, the sherry's warm buzz fading like a guest who's overstayed their welcome. The glass sits empty on your nightstand, next to the milk mug's cinnamon-stained ring, a growing collection of failed sleep experiments. The bed creaks under you, its horsehair mattress as inviting as a sack of walnuts. The nightcap was pleasant, but your eyes are wide open, catching every flicker of the candle's dying flame. You're not ready to revisit the laudanum or the doctor's electric buzzbox, so you turn to something gentler, the Victorian obsession with herbal pillows. These fragrant sacks, stuffed with sleep-soothing plants, promise to lull you into dreams with nothing but nature's perfume. The mainstream fact: Victorian domestic guides, like the 1857 Inquire Within Upon Everything, recommended pillows filled with dried lavender or hops to calm restless minds. You grab a small muslin sack from under your pillow, its faint crunch releasing a whiff of lavender that cuts through the room's sooty haze. You press it to your nose, inhaling deeply, the scents soft, like a meadow you've never actually visited. The idea was that these herbs, warmed by your body, released essences to quiet nerves. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians stuffed their pillows with pine needles, believing the foresty tang mimicked a healthful woodland nap. You laugh, picturing a prickly pillow jabbing your cheek, leaving you smelling like a Christmas tree with a grudge. Historians still argue whether herbal pillows worked or just smelled nice, but you're hopeful. You tuck the lavender sack under your neck, its faint rustle blending with the bed's creaks. The scent's calming, sure, but your brain's still doing cartwheels. Did you pay the coal bill? Is that a spider on the curtain? You try a trick from a faded housekeeping book. Breathe in sync with the pillow's aroma, counting each inhale. 1, 2, 3. Nope. Now you're just hyper aware of your own breathing. You smirk, imagining your maid bragging about her granny's hops pillow, swearing it knocked her out faster than a pub brawl. The lavender's nice, but it's no knockout punch. You fish around and find a second sack, this one stuffed with chamomile, its apple scent mingling with the lavender like a polite tea party. You wedge it under your pillow, hoping for a double dose of sleepy magic. The room feels softer, the clock's tick less accusing, but you're still awake, staring at the ceiling's cracks like they're a map to nowhere. Maybe you need to combine this with something else. Remember that warm milk? Or maybe the sherry wasn't such a bad idea. For now, you nestle deeper, the herbal pillows crinkling, and wonder what other fragrant tricks the Victorians hid up their sleeves. You're still sunk in that creaky Victorian bedroom. The lavender and chamomile pillows under your neck rustling like polite whispers. Their gentle scents weave through the air, battling the coal soot tang, but your eyes are stubbornly open, tracing the familiar cracks in the ceiling. The sherry's glow and warm milk's comfort are distant memories, and the laudanum bottle's dark allure feels like a bad ex you're not ready to revisit. You're desperate for sleep, and the Victorians, with their knack for turning everything into a ritual, have another trick: strict bedtime schedules. They believed a rigid routine could tame your restless brain, and you're about to put it to the test. The mainstream fact: Victorian health manuals, like those by physician William B. Carpenter in the 1860s, insisted that fixed bedtimes, often 10 p.m. sharp, trained the body for rest. You glance at the brass clock on the mantel, its hands inching toward 10. The idea was to sync your life with the natural rhythms of day and night, even if gas lamps blurred those lines. You decide to follow the rules: no reading, no eating, no exciting thoughts after 9 p.m. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some manuals suggested sleeping exactly 7 hours and 45 minutes, claiming it was the perfect restorative cycle. You snort, imagining a doctor with a stopwatch hovering over your bed, muttering about cycles like a deranged mathematician. Historians still argue whether these schedules worked or just stressed people out, but you're giving it a go. You blow out the candle. 10 p.m. means lights out. The room plunges into darkness, save for the gaslight's faint seep through the shutters. You lie flat, hands folded like a proper Victorian, trying to empty your mind. Easier said than done when the neighbor's dog is barking and your stomach's grumbling for a midnight biscuit. The routine's strict. You've already washed your face, said your prayers, more on that later, and avoided that spicy novel about highwaymen. But your brain's a rebel, replaying the day's chaos. Did you overpay the grocer? You try focusing on the clock's tick, counting seconds to bore yourself into submission. 1, 2, 3. Nope. Now you're just annoyed at time itself. You recall that lavender pillow from earlier and press it closer, hoping its scent teams up with the schedule's discipline. The bed creaks as you shift, the horsehair mattress reminding you it's no friend. You smirk, picturing a Victorian housewife bragging about her 10 p.m. bedtime like it's a gold medal. The routine's rigid, but there's something soothing in its predictability. Maybe you're not asleep, but you're calmer, the room's shadows less menacing. The Victorians loved their rules, and you're starting to see why. Structure's a lifeline when sleep's playing hide and seek. You're still lying in that creaky Victorian bedroom, the lavender pillow scent fading under your neck as the strict 10 p.m. bedtime routine settles like a heavy quilt. The clock's relentless tick marks your failure. Sleep's nowhere close, despite your best efforts to empty your mind of grocers and highwaymen novels. The room's pitch black now, the candle snuffed out per schedule, but the gaslight's sneaky glow creeps through the shutters, painting faint stripes on the horsehair mattress. You're ready for the next Victorian sleep trick, turning your bedroom into a cave of absolute darkness. They swore blocking every speck of light was the key to rest, and you're about to test their obsession with blackout tactics. The mainstream fact, Victorian medical advice, like that in the 1864 British Medical Journal, insisted total darkness was essential for deep sleep, as light disrupted the body's vital rhythms. You fumble for the heavy wool curtains, already drawn tight, and check for gaps. A sliver of light sneaks through a loose shutter, so you grab a spare blanket, itchy, of course, and drape it over the window. The room plunges into inky blackness, so thick you can't see your hand, waving like a fool. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians taped black paper over keyholes, fearing even a pinprick of light could ruin their slumber. You laugh, imagining a paranoid gent sealing his room like a tomb, whispering, "Not today, moonbeams." Historians still argue whether total darkness helped or just fed anxiety, but you're feeling the effect. The absence of light is disorienting. Your eyes strain, conjuring phantom shapes in the void. The bed creaks as you settle back. The lavender pillows faint, crunch your only anchor. You try to relax, but the darkness amplifies every sound. A floorboard groans, a distant cart rattles. Your mind, starved of visuals, spins wild stories. Is that a ghost, or just the coal scuttle shifting? You smirk, picturing your maid catching you taping the keyhole, her eyebrow raised like you've lost the plot. The blackout's intense, but it's not the instant sleep spell you hoped. Your body's calmer, though, the lack of light slowing your pulse. You recall that warm milk from earlier. Maybe it'd pair well with this cave-like vibe. The room feels smaller, cozier, despite the mattress's pokes. You wonder if the Victorians were onto something, or just paranoid about stray photons. For now, you lie still, the blanket curtain sagging slightly, and let the darkness wrap you like a cocoon. Sleep's still dodging you, but this pitch-black world is a strange comfort, and you're ready to see what's next in this restless night. You're still cocooned in that pitch-black Victorian bedroom, the blanket curtain sagging over the window, sealing out every stray gaslight gleam. The lavender pillow scent is a faint memory, and the horsehair mattress jabs your spine like it's holding a grudge. The blackout trick made the room feel like a velvet void, but sleep's still dodging you, as slippery as a London pickpocket. You're done with darkness for now. Your eyes crave something tangible. On the nightstand, glinting faintly in the gloom, sits a bottle of Dr. Mortimer's Sleep Tonic, one of the era's many patent medicines. These sketchy elixirs flooded Victorian shelves, promising instant slumber, and you're curious, or desperate, enough to give one a try. The mainstream fact: patent medicines, often alcohol-based with dubious herbs, were a booming industry by the 1860s, with brands like Ayer's Cherry Pectoral, advertised in newspapers for insomnia relief. You uncork the bottle, the sharp whiff of ethanol, and something sickly sweet, like overripe plums, hitting your nose. The label, barely legible, boasts guaranteed repose, with ingredients like valerian and secret essences. You pour a teaspoon, the syrup thick and cloying, and swallow it with a grimace. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some tonics included cannabis tinctures, legal and trendy, which left users dreamy or giggling at their bedposts. You chuckle, imagining a posh lady sipping her cure and chatting with her wallpaper. Historians still argue whether these tonics worked or just got people tipsy, but you're feeling a faint tingle. The tonic's warmth spreads, not unlike that sherry nightcap from earlier, but it's stickier, coating your throat like regretful molasses. You lie back, the bed creaking, and wait for the promised repose. Your mind still buzzing. Did the label say 1 teaspoon or 2? The room's dark, but you sense the bottle watching you, daring a second dose. You resist, recalling the laudanum's risky pull. The tonic's effect is subtle. Your limbs feel looser, but the ceiling's cracks are still your insomnia's canvas, sketching worries about tomorrow's rent. You smirk, picturing a snake oil salesman hawking this stuff in a foggy alley, promising sleep like the dead. The tonic's no miracle, but it's dulled the edges of your restlessness. You tuck the lavender pillow closer, hoping its scent teams up with the syrup's sluggish magic. The clock ticks softer now, or maybe you're just too tired to care. Patent medicines were a gamble, part placebo, part poison, but you get why Victorians chugged them. For now, you sink deeper into the mattress, the tonic's faint buzz humming, and brace for the next odd remedy in this sleepless night. You're still sprawled in that creaky Victorian bedroom, the sticky aftertaste of Dr. Mortimer's sleep tonic lingering like a bad decision. The blackout curtains keep the room as dark as a coal cellar, and the lavender pillow scent is now just a polite suggestion. Sleep's still out of reach, mocking you from the shadows of the horsehair mattress's lumps. The tonic's faint buzz is fading, and you're not about to risk another dose. Your liver's already sending you hate mail. You need something less chemical, something weirdly Victorian, yet safe. Enter mesmerism, the era's hypnotic craze that promised to charm your restless mind into slumber with nothing but a stranger's intense stare and some hand-waving. The mainstream fact: mesmerism, popularized in the 1840s by figures like John Elliotson, was used in Victorian medicine to treat insomnia, with practitioners claiming it induced a magnetic sleep. You imagine a bearded mesmerist in your room, his pocket watch swinging like a pendulum, his voice droning, "You are very sleepy." You sit up, the bed groaning, and mimic his gestures in the dark, waving your hands like a tired magician, whispering to yourself to drift off. It feels ridiculous, but you're desperate. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some mesmerists claimed they could project sleep across rooms, magnetizing patients through walls. You laugh, picturing your neighbor accidentally napping because you hired the wrong guy. Historians still argue whether mesmerism was science or parlor trick, but you're giving it a shot. You lie back, closing your eyes, imagining a soothing voice guiding you to a calm plane. The room's silence helps. No watch swinging, just the clock's soft tick and a distant dog's bark. You focus on your breathing, slow and deep, like the mesmerist's handbook suggested. Your arms feel heavy, or maybe that's just the sherry and tonic teaming up. But your mind's still a runaway horse, galloping through tomorrow's chores. Did you order enough coal? You smirk, imagining explaining this to your mates. Yeah, I tried hypnotizing myself in 1860s style. Total flop. The effort's calming, though, even if sleep's not knocking. You recall that lavender pillow and press it closer, hoping its scent joins the hypnotic vibe. The bed creaks as you shift, the darkness wrapping you like a heavy cloak. Mesmerism's no instant fix, but it's left you quieter, your pulse slower. You wonder if those Victorian patients really drifted off or just faked it to escape the mesmerist's creepy stare. For now, you sink deeper into the mattress, the room's stillness a small victory, ready to try the next odd trick in this endless night. You're still in that dark Victorian bedroom, the mesmerist's imaginary pendulum fading from your mind like a half-forgotten tune. The lavender pillow's crinkle is barely noticeable now, and the horsehair mattress pokes your ribs like it's auditioning for a torture device. Mesmerism was a bust. Your brain's too stubborn to be hypnotized by your own amateur hand-waving. The room's blackout curtains keep the gaslight at bay, but sleep's still playing coy, leaving you to toss in the coal-dusted air. You're ready for a more hands-on Victorian trick, warming the bed. They swore a toasty bed was the secret to drifting off, and you're about to channel your inner maid with hot pans and bricks. The mainstream fact: Victorian households, as noted in 1860s domestic guides like the Family Save-All, used bed warmers, metal pans or bricks heated by the fire, to preheat sheets in chilly rooms. You grab a copper warming pan from the hearth, its handle cool, but the body still radiating heat from earlier coals. You slide it under the blankets, the faint sizzle of warmth cutting through the bed's clammy chill. The scent of singed linen tickles your nose, cozy, but a bit like you're flirting with a house fire. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some posh folks hired bed-warming maids to lie in the sheets first, lending body heat. You grin, imagining a grumpy servant muttering, "Warm it yourself, your lordship." Historians still argue whether bed warming was practical or just a fire hazard, but you're loving the glow. The pan's heat spreads, softening the mattress's lumps, and you slip into the warm spot, your toes curling in delight. The room's still dark, but the warmth feels like a hug from someone who doesn't ask questions. You shift, the bed creaking, and recall that lavender pillow. Its scent might pair nicely with this cozy setup, but your mind's still buzzing. Did you leave the pan too long? Is the blanket smoldering? You smirk, picturing a Victorian gent waking up to a charred bed, blaming overzealous warming. The heat's soothing, but sleep's not quite there. You try a brick next, wrapped in flannel, tucked near your feet. It's less dramatic, but keeps your toes from feeling like icicles. The clock ticks softly, and the room's shadows seem friendlier in the warmth. You wonder if that sherry nightcap would amplify this toasty vibe. Probably, but you're not mixing booze with hot metal. The bed's a haven now, far better than the cold floor you paced during that doctor's cure. The Victorians knew their creature comforts, even if their methods were a bit unhinged. You sink deeper, the brick's warmth fading, ready for the next sleepy trick in this restless night. You're nestled in that warmed Victorian bed, the copper pan's lingering heat fading as the flannel-wrapped brick by your feet grows cool. The blackout curtains hold the room in a dark embrace, and the lavender pillow scent is a whisper under the horsehair mattress's pokes. The bed's cozy now, but sleep's still a tease, flitting away like a shadow in the coal-dusted air. The mesmerist tricks and patent tonics didn't deliver, so you're turning to a classic Victorian mind game, counting sheep. This quirky ritual, meant to bore your brain into submission, has deeper roots than you'd expect, and you're ready to give it a go in this restless night. The mainstream fact, counting sheep, popularized in Victorian self-help books like the 1853, The Art of Sleeping, was advised to distract from anxious thoughts by visualizing a repetitive scene. You close your eyes, picturing a grassy field, less English meadow, more muddy patch by the Thames. One sheep leaps a rickety fence, then another, their woolly forms blurry in your mind's eye. The rhythm's soothing, like the clock's tick, softened by the bed's warmth. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians didn't count sheep, but imagined rows of turnips, or even filing clerks sorting papers to lull themselves. You laugh, picturing a dour clerk shuffling documents in your head, muttering, "Next, please, next." Historians still argue whether counting sheep was effective or just a cultural fad, but you're trying hard. 3 sheep, 4, 5. Your mind wanders to that unpaid coal bill, and the sheep morph into grumpy creditors hopping the fence. You refocus, adding details. The sheep are shaggy. The fence wobbles. A distant shepherd snores. It's dull, and that's the point. Boredom's your ally. The bed creaks as you shift, the lavender pillow rustling like it's cheering you on. You recall that warm milk from earlier. Maybe its calm vibe would help this mental slog. But your brain's a tricky beast, now picturing a sheep tripping over the fence and glaring at you. You hit 10 sheep, then 20, and the monotony's working. Your eyelids feel heavier, the room's shadows less sharp. You smirk, imagining explaining this to your mates. "Yeah, I herded imaginary sheep in 1860s style. Total snooze fest. The ritual's no instant knockout, but it's tamed your racing thoughts. The clock's tick blending with the sheep's soft bleats. You wonder if those turnip-counting weirdos had the right idea. Less cute, more mind-numbing. For now, you keep counting, the field fading into a gray haze, the bed's warmth wrapping you. The Victorians loved their mental tricks, and this one's got you closer to sleep than most. You're still sunk in that warmed Victorian bed, the sheep-counting haze dissolving as your mind refuses to stay in that muddy Thames meadow. The blackout curtains keep the room dark, the lavender pillow scent a faint echo under the horsehair mattress's jabs. Those woolly jumpers got you close to sleep, closer than the sherry or that sketchy tonic, but your eyes are open again, catching the faintest glint from the coal scuttle. You're not giving up. The Victorians, with their endless sleep fixes, have another trick, perfecting your sleep posture. They believed how you lay in bed, sprawled or stiff as a board, could make or break your rest, and you're ready to adjust your position like a proper 1860s snoozer. The mainstream fact: Victorian health manuals, like Edwin Lee's 1865 Health and Beauty, advise sleeping on your right side, with knees slightly bent to aid digestion and circulation. You roll onto your right, the bed creaking like it's judging your form. Your knees tuck in. Your head rests on the lumpy pillow, and you try to keep your spine gently curved as the experts ordered. It feels like posing for a portrait nobody's painting. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some doctors warned against sleeping on your back, claiming it invited night terrors or even moral weakness. You chuckle, imagining a doctor scolding you for flopping supine, muttering, "That's a one-way ticket to bad dreams and worse character." Historians still argue whether posture advice was science or fussy nonsense. But you're committed. The right side pose is oddly comfortable, though the mattress's lumps dig into your hip like tiny grudges. You adjust the lavender pillow, its faint crunch a reminder of earlier efforts. The room's dark. The clocks tick, a steady metronome, but your mind's still nibbling at worries. Did you snuff the candle properly? You focus on the posture, keeping your knees bent, your arms loose. It's less about comfort and more about discipline, like that strict 10 p.m. bedtime routine. You smirk, picturing a Victorian sleep coach barking, "Right side, soldier," or "The nightmares win." The pose holds you in a gentle grip, and your breathing slows, syncing with the room's quiet pulse. It's not sleep yet, but the effort's calming. The bed's warmth from that hot brick lingering at your feet. You wonder if pairing this with another sheep-counting round would seal the deal. Those turnip-obsessed weirdos might have been onto something. The Victorians loved their rules, and this posture game feels like one more way to wrestle sleep into submission. You settle deeper, the mattress less hostile, ready for the next odd remedy in this endless night. You're curled on your right side in that creaky Victorian bed, knees bent just so, the horsehair mattress grudgingly cradling your perfect sleep posture. The blackout curtains seal the room in darkness, and the lavender pillow's faint scent clings like a shy guest. The posture trick calmed your pulse, but sleep's still dodging you, as elusive as a fog-wrapped London alley. The clock ticks on, and you're ready to try another Victorian sleep hack, tackling their fear of night air. They were obsessed with whether to crack a window, believing fresh air could either cure or kill you, and you're about to weigh the risks in this stuffy, coal-dusted room. The mainstream fact: Victorian medical texts, like those by Florence Nightingale in the 1860s, argued fresh air improves sleep by clearing miasmas thought to cause disease. You inch toward the window, the bed groaning as you untangle from the warmed sheets. The shutters are heavy, but you pry one open, a cool breeze slipping in, sharp with the tang of river mud and distant smoke. It's refreshing, cutting through the room's sooty haze. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians sealed windows tight, fearing night air carried poisonous vapors, or even ghosts. You laugh, imagining a nervous gent taping his shutters, muttering, "No specters sneaking in tonight." Historians still argue whether fresh air helped or if sealed rooms bred illness. But you're savoring the breeze. It rustles the curtains, stirring the lavender pillow scent, and you breathe deep, your chest loosening. The air's chilly, though, and you tug the blanket higher, recalling that warm brick's cozy glow from earlier. Your mind's still nibbling at worries. Will the breeze bring a cold? Is that a bat flapping outside? You smirk, picturing your maid scolding you for risking vapors like you're inviting a poltergeist to tea. The open window feels rebellious, a middle finger to the stuffy status quo. The fresh air's waking you up more than lulling you, but it's cleared the room's heaviness. You leave the shutter cracked, the breeze a soft whisper against the clock's tick. Maybe pairing this with that sheep counting trick would dull your brain enough to drift. The Victorians were paranoid, but their air debate shows they craved rest as much as you do. You settle back, the bed less pokey in the cooler air, and wonder what's next in this sleepless saga. The night's long, but you're stubborn, ready to chase sleep with whatever odd remedy comes next. You're back in that creaky Victorian bed, the cool breeze from the cracked shutter mingling with the lavender pillow's fading scent. The horsehair mattress still pokes, but the fresh air's cleared the room's sooty weight, making your right side sleep posture feel less like a chore. Sleep's still a distant tease, though, your mind buzzing despite the open window's calming whisper. The clock ticks on, and you're ready for another Victorian sleep ritual, bedtime prayers. They believed a few whispered verses could soothe the soul into slumber, and in this restless night, you're willing to give their spiritual lullaby a try. The mainstream fact: Victorian households, guided by religious texts like the 1860 Book of Common Prayer, often ended the day with bedtime prayers to seek peace and protection. You prop yourself up, the bed groaning, and reach for a worn Bible on the nightstand, its leather cover soft from years of use. You murmur a simple prayer, something about lying down in peace, the words heavy with a rhythm that feels like a lullaby. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians recited custom sleep psalms in Latin, believing the ancient tongue had extra divine mojo. You chuckle, imagining a frazzled clerk stumbling through Latin like a schoolboy, hoping God's impressed by his pronunciation. Historians still argue whether prayers calmed minds or just added performance pressure, but you're feeling the effect. The words settle your breathing, each syllable a pebble dropped in a still pond. The room's dark, the breeze carrying a faint whiff of river mud, and the lavender pillow crinkles as you lean back. Your mind tries to wander. Did you lock the back door? But the prayer's cadence pulls you back, like that sheep counting trick, but with more gravitas. You smirk, picturing your maid kneeling by her cot, speed praying to hit her 10 p.m. bedtime curfew. The prayer's done, and you feel lighter. The clock's tick, blending with the breeze's soft hum. It's not sleep, but it's close. Your eyelids flutter, the mattress's lumps less hostile. You wonder if pairing this with that warm milk from earlier would have sealed the deal. Maybe the Victorians were onto something with their layered rituals. The Bible rests in your lap, a quiet anchor in the blackout's void. You're not a convert, but the prayer's rhythm has tamed your restless thoughts, like a gentle hand smoothing a crumpled sheet. The night's still young, and you're ready for the next Victorian trick to chase that elusive slumber. You're settled back in that creaky Victorian bed, the Bible's weight still warm in your lap from whispering those bedtime prayers. The cracked shutter lets in a soft breeze, stirring the lavender pillow's faint scent, while the horsehair mattress grumbles under your right side pose. The prayers calmed your mind, their rhythm lingering like a gentle echo, but sleep's still dodging you, as stubborn as a London fog. The clock ticks on, blending with the distant clop of a horse outside. You're ready for another Victorian sleep trick, a warm bath before bed. They swore a good soak could melt away the day's tensions, and you're eager to trade this poky bed for a tub's steamy embrace. The mainstream fact: Victorian hygiene manuals, like those by Erasmus Wilson in the 1860s, praised warm baths around 90 degrees off for relaxing muscles and promoting sleep. You shuffle to the corner of the room where a tin tub waits, filled by your imaginary maid, with water heated over the kitchen fire. The steam rises, smelling faintly of lye soap, and you ease in, the warmth wrapping your limbs like a liquid blanket. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians added mustard powder to their baths, believing it stimulated circulation for deeper rest. You laugh, imagining a spicy soak turning you into a human soup, your maid nodding sagely as she sprinkles in the condiment. Historians still argue whether baths soothed or just distracted from insomnia. But you're in heaven. The water's heat unknots your shoulders, and the tub's tinny creak feels friendlier than the bed's jabs. You recall that lavender pillow. Its scent would be perfect in this steamy haze. Your mind tries to wander. Did you order enough soap? But the warmth pulls you back, your breathing slowing. You smirk, picturing a posh gent soaking with a mustard sting, muttering, "This better work, or I'm writing to the Times." The bath's no instant sleep spell, but it's dulled your edges, the room's darkness softer as you towel off. You climb back into bed, the warm sheets from that hot brick welcoming your damp skin. The clock's tick feels distant, the breeze cooler against your flushed cheeks. The bath's left you loose, almost drowsy, but your brain's still nibbling at tomorrow's chores. Maybe pairing this with another sheep counting round would tip you over. The Victorians loved their rituals, and this one's got you closer to rest than most. You nestle into the mattress, its lumps less hostile, ready for the next odd remedy in this endless night. You're back in that creaky Victorian bed, your skin still warm from the steamy bath, the faint lye soap scent clinging to you like a polite guest. The blackout curtains hold the room in darkness, the cracked shutters breeze now chilly against your damp hair. The lavender pillow, rustles under your neck, and the horsehair mattress, warmed by that brick, feels almost forgiving. The bath was a dreamy escape, but sleep's still playing coy, your mind nibbling at stray thoughts. Did you scrub the tub? The clock ticks on, and you're ready for the next Victorian sleep trick, tackling the overstuffed mattress itself. They believed a well-packed bed was key to rest, but this lumpy beast is more foe than friend, and you're about to wrestle it into submission. The mainstream fact: Victorian beds, as described in 1860s furniture catalogs, were stuffed with horsehair or feathers to provide firm support, thought to align the spine for better sleep. You sink into the mattress, its horsehair crunching like a sack of dry leaves, each lump a personal insult to your back. You try to find a sweet spot, rolling from your right side pose to your stomach, the bed groaning like it's staging a protest. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some wealthy Victorians used mattresses stuffed with seaweed, swearing its marine essence calmed nerves. You chuckle, imagining a briny bed, smelling like low tide, your maid bragging about its healthful tang. Historians still argue whether firm mattresses helped or just punished sleepers, but you're battling this one head on. You fluff the bolster, hoping to smooth the lumps, but it's like rearranging rocks in a sack. The lavender pillow scent tries to help, but the mattress's pokes are relentless. One jab under your shoulder, another at your hip. You recall that warm bath's soothing glow. Maybe it loosened you enough to endure this torture device. Your mind wanders. Did they ever wash this horsehair? But you focus, shifting to a half-sitting pose, propped on pillows like a grumpy monarch. You smirk, picturing a Victorian gent writing a furious letter. Dear Sir, your mattress is an affront to slumber. The bed's a challenge, but you're adapting, finding a dip that's less hostile. The clock's tick blends with the breeze, and the room feels cozier. The mattress's crunch almost rhythmic. It's not sleep, but your body's settling, the lumps less like enemies and more like grumpy roommates. You wonder if pairing this with another prayer session would dull your brain further. The Victorians loved their overstuffed beds, lumps and all, and you're starting to see their stubborn logic. You nestle deeper, the bed creaking, ready for the next odd remedy in this sleepless night. You're still wrestling with that lumpy Victorian bed, the horsehair mattress crunching under you like a grumpy bag of twigs. The blackout curtains keep the room dark. The cracked shutters breeze, now a soft sigh, and the lavender pillow scent clings faintly, battling the faint soap trace from your bath. You found a tolerable dip in the mattress, your right side pose less tortured, but sleep's still a distant tease, your mind nibbling at stray worries. Did you bank the hearth? The clock ticks on, and you're ready for another Victorian sleep trick, slipping into heavy flannel sleepwear. They swore these scratchy layers kept you warm and cozy, priming you for rest, and you're about to swaddle yourself like a woolly cocoon. The mainstream fact: Victorian sleepwear, as noted in 1860s, fashion guides like the Ladies' Magazine was typically long flannel nightgowns or nightshirts, valued for trapping heat in drafty rooms. You tug on a floor-length flannel gown from a peg, its fabric stiff and faintly musty, like it's been plotting revenge in a trunk. You slide it over your head, the weight settling like a warm, itchy hug, the high collar tickling your chin. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians believed flannel absorbed bodily vapors, preventing nervous unrest. You laugh, imagining a nightgown as a ghost trapping superhero, your maid nodding sagely as she hands you the scratchiest one. Historians still argue whether flannel helped sleep or just overheated people, but you're feeling the effect. The gown's warmth wraps you, amplifying the bed's lingering heat from that brick, and you settle back, the mattress's lumps less aggressive through the fabric's bulk. Your skin prickles, flannel's no silk, but the coziness is real, like being hugged by a sheep with boundary issues. Your mind tries to wander. Will this thing suffocate you? But you focus, tucking the gown's hem under your feet. You recall that lavender pillow. Its scent might pair well with this woolly fortress. You smirk, picturing a posh gent, sweating in flannel, muttering, "At least my vapors are contained." The gown's heavy, but it's working. Your body's toasty, your eyelids drooping, though the clock's tick keeps you tethered to wakefulness. It's not sleep, but the flannels made the bed a softer battleground, the room's darkness less stark. You wonder if those prayers from earlier would amplify this cozy vibe. Maybe a quick psalm in your nightgown would do the trick. The Victorians loved their layered rituals, and this scratchy armor's got you closer to rest than the lumpy mattress alone. You sink deeper, the flannel rustling, ready for the next odd remedy in this sleepless night. You're swaddled in that heavy flannel nightgown, its scratchy warmth cocooning you in the creaky Victorian bed. The blackout curtains hold the room in darkness, the cracked shutters breeze barely stirring the lavender pillow's fading scent. The horsehair mattress, softened by your hard-won dip, grumbles less, but sleep's still a tease, your mind nibbling at stray thoughts. Did you fold the gown's hem right? The clock ticks on, blending with the faint rustle of your flannel fortress. You're ready for another Victorian sleep trick, rearranging your bedroom for restful energy. They believed furniture placement, pseudo feng shui style, could coax your brain into slumber, and you're about to shuffle this stuffy room like a tired interior designer. The mainstream fact: Victorian domestic manuals, like Catherine Beecher's 1869, The American Woman's Home, advised aligning beds away from windows and doors to avoid disruptive drafts and promote calm. You sit up, the bed creaking, and squint through the dark at your oak bed's position. Its headboard faces the window, a big no-no. You shove it toward the opposite wall, the wood scraping like a grumpy bear. The nightstand follows, its chipped mug wobbling. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians placed mirrors to reflect bad energy out of the room, believing it cleared the path to dreams. You chuckle, imagining a mirror bouncing your insomnia back to the Thames, your maid nodding like it's science. Historians still argue whether furniture shuffling soothed or just exhausted people, but you're feeling the effort. The new setup, bed against the inner wall, nightstand close, feels cozier, less exposed to the shutter's breeze. You flop back, the flannel gown rustling, and tuck the lavender pillow under your neck, its scent faintly revived. Your mind tries to wander. Did you align the bed north-south like that manual suggested? But the room's new flow calms you. The clock's tick softer. You smirk, picturing a fussy gent measuring angles with a ruler, muttering, "This corner's stealing my sleep." The rearranged room's not a sleep spell, but it's tamed the space's chaos. The mattress's lumps less hostile in this restful layout. Your body's heavy, the flannel amplifying the bed's lingering warmth from that brick. You wonder if pairing this with another sheep counting round would seal the deal. Those turnips might have been genius. The Victorians loved their quirky logic, and this furniture dance has you closer to rest than the drafty old setup. You sink deeper, the flannel crinkling, ready for the next odd remedy in this endless night. You're nestled in that creaky Victorian bed, the flannel nightgown's itchy warmth wrapping you like a woolly burrito. The room's freshly rearranged, bed snug against the inner wall, nightstand close, feels calmer. The blackout curtains and cracked shutter keeping the darkness soft. The lavender pillow scent is a faint whisper, and the horsehair mattress, though lumpy, seems tamed by your new layout. Sleep's still dodging you, your mind nibbling at stray thoughts. Did you nudge the mirror enough to reflect bad energy? The clock ticks on, a steady pulse in the coal-dusted air. You're ready for another Victorian sleep trick, soothing story time. They swore reading dull books could bore your brain into slumber, and you're about to test their literary lullaby. The mainstream fact: Victorian self-help guides, like those by physician John Forbes in the 1860s, recommended reading unexciting texts, think sermons, or agricultural reports to quiet the mind before bed. You grab a dusty tome from the nightstand, Treatise on Crop Rotation, its pages yellowed and smelling of old ink. You prop yourself up, the bed creaking, and start reading by candlelight. the words droning about turnips and soil. It's mind-numbing, exactly as promised. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians read aloud to themselves, believing the monotone voice doubled the sleepy effect. You chuckle, imagining a gent murmuring about wheat yields, his nightcap bobbing like a sleepy metronome. Historians still argue whether dull reading worked or just frustrated insomniacs, but you're giving it a shot. The book's prose is a slog. Sentences about manure pile up like, well, manure. You try reading aloud, your voice a soft mumble. The benefits of clover. Your eyelids droop, the flannel gown's warmth amplifying the boredom. But your mind wanders. Did you lock the coal shed? You refocus, flipping to a chapter on potato blight, as thrilling as watching paint dry. You recall that lavender pillow. Its scent might pair well with this literary snooze fest. You smirk, picturing your maid catching you mid-sentence, muttering, "Rather read about spuds than sleep, eh?" The book's working, sort of. Your thoughts are slower, the room's shadows softer. It's not sleep, but the drone of crop rotations dulled your brain's chatter. The clock's tick, fading into the background. You wonder if those bedtime prayers would boost this boring vibe. Psalms and potatoes. A Victorian dream team. The mattress feels cozier, its lumps less hostile. The Victorians knew how to weaponize boredom, and this story times got you closer to rest than most tricks. You sink deeper, the book heavy in your hands, ready for the next odd remedy in this sleepless night. You're still propped in that creaky Victorian bed, the flannel nightgown's heavy warmth making you feel like a toasty, if itchy, sausage. The treatise on crop rotation lies open on your lap, its droning prose about turnips nearly lulling you into a stupor. But sleep's still a tease, your mind nibbling at stray thoughts. Did you blow out that candle properly? The blackout curtains keep the room dark. The cracked shutters breeze a faint whisper, and the lavender pillow's scent barely clings. The clock ticks on, blending with the horsehair mattress's soft crunch. You're ready for another Victorian sleep trick, winding up quirky clockwork gadgets. They believed mechanical devices could soothe you into slumber, and you're about to tinker with some odd contraptions. The mainstream fact: Victorian inventors, as seen in 1860s patent records, marketed devices like sleep regulators, clockwork timers, or rocking bed frames to mimic rhythmic motion for rest. You reach for a brass gadget on the nightstand, a slumber ticker with a tiny crank. You wind it, and it hums softly, emitting a steady click, click like a mechanical heartbeat. It's meant to entrain your pulse to sleep. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some gadgets included vibrating pads you strap to your head, supposedly to to massage the brain. You laugh, imagining a buzzing helmet, turning your skull into a jelly mold, your maid smirking as she hands you the straps. Historians still argue whether these devices worked or just annoyed users, but you're intrigued. The ticker's rhythm is oddly soothing, syncing with the clock's tick and the flannel gown's cozy heat. You set it beside the lavender pillow, hoping its clicks team up with the scent. But your mind wanders. Will this thing run all night? You try another device, a small rocking mechanism under the bed. You nudge it, and the frame sways gently, like a cradle for a very grumpy adult. It's nice, but the mattress's lumps jostle with each rock, poking your ribs. You smirk, picturing a Victorian gent waking to a runaway rocker, muttering, "Blasted contraption." The gadgets are calming, though not a sleep spell. Your eyelids are heavy, but the room's shadows keep your brain alert. The ticker's click blends with the breeze, and the bed's sway softens the mattress's hostility. You wonder if pairing this with that dull crop book would bore you into oblivion. Turnips and tickers, a snooze combo. The Victorians loved their mechanical fixes, and this clockwork lullabies got you closer to rest than the vibrating chair nonsense. You sink deeper, the flannel rustling, ready for the next odd remedy in this sleepless night. You're still wrapped in that itchy flannel nightgown, sunk into the creaky Victorian bed, the slumber ticker's soft click, click, fading like a tired metronome. The blackout curtains hold the room in darkness, the cracked shutters breeze barely stirring the lavender pillow's faint scent. The horsehair mattress, rocked gently by that clockwork gadget, feels less hostile, but sleep's still dodging you, your mind nibbling at stray worries. Did you overwind the ticker? The clock ticks on, blending with the flannel's rustle. You're ready for another Victorian sleep trick, tweaking your diet. They believed a light supper could prevent nightmares and coax rest, and you're about to rethink your evening meal in this restless night. The mainstream fact: Victorian health guides, like William Banting's 1863 Letter on Corpulence, advised light, easily digestible suppers, think broth or toast, to avoid gastric unrest that disrupted sleep. You recall your supper, a thin vegetable soup and a slice of dry bread, per your imaginary maid's insistence. It was bland, sitting light in your stomach, unlike the heavy mutton stew you craved. The idea was to keep your gut calm, letting your brain focus on rest. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians swore by eating a single apple before bed, claiming its cooling juices prevented feverish dreams. You chuckle, imagining a gent chomping an apple in his nightcap, muttering, "Take that, nightmares." Historians still argue whether light suppers helped or just left people hungry, but you're feeling the difference. Your stomach's quiet, No gurgling to rival the clock's tick, and the flannel gown's warmth pairs well with the meal's simplicity. You lie back, the bed creaking, and tuck the lavender pillow closer, its scent a faint ally. Your mind tries to wander. Should you have tried the apple? But the light suppers left you less weighed down, your limbs looser. You smirk, picturing your maid serving a lone apple on a silver tray, her face saying, "Don't question Granny's wisdom." The diet tweaks no instant sleep spell, but it's calmed your body, the room's darkness softer, the mattress's lumps less vengeful. You wonder if pairing this with another round of sheep counting would tip you over. Apples and woolly jumpers, a Victorian snooze team. The clock's tick feels gentler, the breeze carrying a hint of river mud. The Victorians obsessed over every detail, and this supper tricks got you closer to rest than that buzzing tonic ever did. You sink deeper, the flannel crinkling, ready for the next odd remedy in this endless night. You're still cocooned in that creaky Victorian bed, the flannel nightgown's heavy warmth making you feel like a toasty, slightly irritated loaf. The light supper, soup and bread, sits easy in your stomach, and the lavender pillow's faint scent clings, battling the horsehair mattress's pokes. The blackout curtains keep the room dark. The cracked shutters breeze a soft murmur. Sleep's still dodging you, your mind nibbling at stray thoughts. Should you have tried that apple? The clock ticks on, syncing with the slumber ticker's fading clicks. You're ready for another Victorian sleep trick, exploring women's unique insomnia remedies. They faced extra hurdles in this era, and you're about to dive in to their gendered sleep fixes. The mainstream fact: Victorian medical texts, like those by Edward Tilt in the 1860s, noted women suffered insomnia more due to delicate nerves and societal pressures, often prescribing gentler remedies than men's. You imagine yourself as a Victorian lady, your flannel gown swapped for a lace-trimmed nightdress, reaching for a vial of female tonic from the nightstand, rosewater and valerian, meant to balance humors. You dab it on your wrists, the floral scent mingling with the lavender pillow's whisper. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some women wore sleep corsets, looser than daytime ones, to support the spine for rest. You laugh, picturing a lady laced up for bed, muttering, "Even my dreams need structure." Historians still argue whether these remedies helped or reinforced stereotypes, but you're feeling the tonic's effect. The rosewater soothing, cooling your pulse, and the nightdress, in your mind, feels less oppressive than flannel. You lie back, the bed creaking, and recall that light supper. Its simplicity suits this delicate vibe. Your mind wanders. Did corsets really help sleep? But the tonic's scent grounds you, the room's darkness softer. You smirk, imagining your maid gossiping about her mistress's sleep corset, whispering, "She's trussed up like a sleepy turkey." The remedy's no instant fix, but it's calmed your nerves, the mattress's lumps less hostile. You tuck the lavender pillow closer, the tonic's floral note blending with its scent, and wonder if those prayers from earlier would amplify this gentle ritual. The clock's tick feels kinder, the breeze carrying a hint of river mud. Victorian women juggled extra burdens, tight laces, tighter expectations, and their sleep tricks show their resilience. You're closer to rest now, the room a cozy haven, ready for the final remedy in this sleepless night. You're still nestled in that creaky Victorian bed, the flannel nightgown, or perhaps a lacy nightdress in your mind, wrapping you in a warm, slightly itchy embrace. The blackout curtains hold the room in soft darkness. The cracked shutters breeze, carrying a faint whiff of river mud. The lavender pillow scent, now a gentle whisper, mingles with the rosewater tonic's floral trace, and the horsehair mattress, tamed by your efforts, feels almost forgiving. The clock ticks softly, its rhythm blending with the slumber ticker's fading clicks. Sleep's closer now, teasing you after a long night of Victorian remedies, laudanum's risky haze, sheep counting's dull drone, and women's delicate tonics. You're ready to reflect on insomnia's lasting echoes, tying this restless journey together as you chase that final drift into dreams. The mainstream fact: Victorian insomnia remedies, as chronicled in 1860s medical journals like The Lancet, shaped modern sleep science, emphasizing environment and routine over drugs. You sink deeper into the bed, the flannel gown rustling, and think back on the night's experiments, the warm bath's steamy calm, the prayer's soothing cadence, the light supper's quiet gut. Each trick, quirky or practical, was a step toward rest, building a ritual that feels oddly familiar, like your own bedtime habits in a gaslit mirror. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians kept sleep diaries, charting their nights with obsessive detail. Hours slept, dreams, even pillow fluffiness. You chuckle, imagining a gent scribbling, "Lavender weak, mattress hostile," like a grumpy Yelp review for insomnia. Historians still argue whether Victorian remedies were genius or placebo, but you feel their legacy. The room's cozy now, the mattress's lumps mere acquaintances, the clock's tick a gentle lullaby. You recall that lavender pillow, its scent your constant through sherry sips and furniture shuffles. Your mind's quieter, no longer chewing on coal bills or creaky shutters. The remedies, flawed, funny, stubborn, work together, each layering calm like sediment in a riverbed. You smirk, picturing your maid, tallying your sleep score, muttering, "Not bad for a restless toff." The nights taught you resilience, the Victorians' dogged fight against sleeplessness, a strange comfort. As the clock's tick slows, your breathing softens, matching the breeze's gentle sigh. The room fades, its edges blurring like a watercolor left in the rain. You're safe here, wrapped in flannel, the lavender's whisper guiding you, the bed's warmth, the tonic's calm, the prayer's peace. They're all with you, carrying you toward a quiet shore. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on a still pond, each worry sinking out of sight. The night's done its work, and you're ready to rest. The world outside fading to a hush. Sleep's waiting, soft and patient, ready to catch you at last.